So I'm an Epstein survivor from 2004 2005. I was 17 years old when I met Jeffrey Epstein. Back then I was a teenager, but I was really a child. I was looking for an adult to help protect me from what felt like monsters, only to find that the monster was him all along. Now I look to the government for help, and they're no better. Gaslighting and manipulating victims, the same tactics as Jeffrey and Ghislaine. The DOJ assures us that they're focused on our safety, but only to exploit us further. There are two cases happening here, two cases of abuse. The first case is one that we endured while we were ensnared in the largest sex trafficking ring that this country has known to date. And the second is the abuse of our government. They're covering everything up and protecting power, not the young and the vulnerable. As we prepare to attend the State of the Union, survivors and this country have so many questions that need to be answered. The first one is, where are the rest of the files? The truth must come out. Why are there no investigations when there are plenty of people in these files to investigate? Have we read them? Why is the FBI director out there partying like a college kid when he should be investigating the vast criminal enterprise? This administration needs to do better. How can anybody feel safe in this country when our president's sympathies are going to the former Prince Andrew and not to survivors? There are a few things that really need to be done immediately. First is the release of all of the files, which we know. Next is to hold accountable those who continuously exploit. And the third is to pass Virginia's bill. We need to pass Virginia's bill because just...
That was Danny Bensky, Epstein survivor, speaking at a press conference just hours before the State of the Union. 17 years old when she met Jeffrey Epstein. A child looking for protection from monsters, only to discover the monster was him all along. And now she says the government is no better. Same tactics, gaslighting, manipulation, exploitation.
Through their courage, we are building a safer future for all of our children. And we will continue to stand with them. All of our elected leaders should be standing with them and fighting alongside them. But what have we seen instead from the President of the United States? He tells us to move on, to get over it, to forget about it, and look away. And tonight, we are prepared to hear more lies, more deflections, more distractions, everything but the truth that the American people expect and that these brave survivors deserve. Let me be clear to Donald Trump. This is not going away. These survivors and all of us are not going away. This is an issue about who we are as a people, who we are as a country. Is this a place where billionaires can get away with abusing children? Or are we a country of laws, of accountability, of basic morality? We reject the rotten corruption at the heart of this broken administration. We will not stand for their lies and for their cover.
Before we pull back the curtain on what really happened inside the DOJ, make sure you're subscribed to Celebrity Newswebia. We don't just report the headlines, we dissect the power plays behind them. Picture this, a stack of yellow folders, 3 million pages, sitting inside the Department of Justice, collecting dust, while across the Atlantic, ambassadors and princes are getting arrested, handcuffed, questioned, charged. But here, in America, nothing. Crickets, redactions, black ink covering names like a crime scene tarp. That yellow stack is the visual anchor for everything wrong with this administration's so-called transparency. Because those yellow folders don't just contain documents, they contain the answer to a question that should keep every American awake tonight. If the FBI can purge its entire Iran unit in the name of political loyalty, Who exactly is left to investigate the international criminal enterprise that trafficked children across state lines and international borders for decades? Revenge is not a national security strategy. Say that again. Revenge is not a national security strategy. But that's exactly what we're watching play out in real time. The same administration that promised to drain the swamp is now using the Department of Justice as a personal shield factory. And the Epstein survivors? They're not buying it. They're not moving on. And they're certainly not going away. Let's rewind to what you didn't see on your evening news. 2 weeks before that press conference, Attorney General Pam Bondi appeared before the House Judiciary Committee. Survivors were in the room. Women who had been trafficked as children. Women who had waited decades for someone in power to simply look at them and say, "We believe you. We will investigate." Instead, Bondi turned her back, didn't apologize, didn't explain, didn't even acknowledge the pain her Department of Justice had caused them. She just turned and walked away. That's not leadership. That's not accountability. That's a cover-up with a government salary.
She appeared before the House Judiciary Committee 2 weeks ago. The world saw her turn her back on the survivors rather than apologize for the pain that her Department of Justice has caused them. Today, the world will see Donald Trump have to face these survivors right there in the House gallery and answer for why ambassadors and princes have been arrested in other countries, but here in America, not a single investigation has been announced into the pedophiles and the predators of Epstein's horrific sex trafficking ring. He must answer for why the Department of Justice has still refused to release 3 million remaining files and why they continue the massive cover-up of a depraved Epstein class. He must answer to the people across the country and the world who see that powerful predators in government, academia, finance, and law have all been part of abusing and raping young girls and joking about it with zero accountability.
The irony is so thick, you could cut it with a grand jury subpoena. Donald Trump campaigned on releasing the Epstein files, said it on video, promised it to survivors, promised it to the American people.
No, Donald Trump, this is not a hoax. We are not moving on from this. You have not been exonerated, nor have any of these predators. We are here today, many of us in white, because women know what it means to be silenced, dismissed, and pushed back, and we are not going to stand for it. These survivors, as Lauren said to me, are shaking the earth with their strength. And because of them and the public that is standing up with and for them, we see the cracks emerging. We demand investigations right here at home into predators like Leon Black, Steve Tisch, Jess Staley, and so many more. These courageous survivors are going to show that tonight is about their strength, about the strength of those across the country who understand that without justice, there can be no progress. So tonight is about our movement that will not stop until we get truth, transparency, and real accountability.
"I'll release them," he said. Full transparency. Fast forward to today, 1 year into his presidency. And what do we have? 3 million files still withheld, page after page blacked out. Names of powerful men redacted, while the nude images of underage victims were released by the DOJ without apology. Let that sink in. The government protected the identities of accused predators while exposing their victims' bodies. Again, the same government that tells us to move on is the same government that can't seem to stop re-victimizing the very people it claims to serve. This is the pattern, and the survivors see it clearly. Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury held up those yellow folders at the same press conference. She pointed to the camera and said, "These are the files President Trump is hiding. Investigations with a woman who was abused as a minor and who alleged that Donald Trump was her abuser." The cameras cut away quickly after that. Funny how that works. But the survivors didn't cut away. They stood there, in white, because women know what it means to be silenced, dismissed, and pushed back, and they are not going to stand for it. Now let's talk about the ticking clock that nobody in Washington wants to acknowledge. Jeffrey Epstein operated for decades. From New York to Palm Beach to New Mexico to Paris to London. He had a private island, a fleet of planes, a black book that read like a who's who of global power. And the FBI? The FBI had Maria Farmer's report in 1996. 1996. A young woman walked into a field office and said, "I was abused. Here are the names. Here are the locations. Here are the powerful people involved." And what did the FBI do? Nothing. For years, decades. Until a journalist named Julie K. Brown forced the world to look. Until Virginia Roberts Giuffre refused to be erased. Until the Miami Herald published a series so devastating that even the Justice Department couldn't ignore it anymore.
But here's the question that turns this from a tragedy into a thriller. If the FBI's specialized units are being purged for political reasons, if career prosecutors are being replaced with loyalists, if the entire apparatus of federal law enforcement is being weaponized to protect the president's allies and punish his enemies, then who is investigating the Epstein network right now, today, as we speak? Because the statute of limitations is 10 years for many of these crimes. 10 years! That's not justice. That's a get-out-of-jail-free card for anyone with enough money and lawyers to run out the clock. And the clock is ticking. Revenge is not a national security strategy, but neither is silence.
Look, while we're here, the truth must come out. Trump says he's going to give a long speech tonight, but there's one thing he refuses to talk about: the Epstein files. Trump campaigned on releasing the files, but now 1 year into his presidency, he calls them a hoax. Shame on him. He says the American people need to move on. We're not moving on, are we? That is outrageous to say move on. That's an insult to the victims and the survivors standing behind me. For years, survivors of Epstein's abuse were ignored, they were doubted, they were dismissed. But their presence here at the State of the Union sends a clear, powerful message. Survivors will not be silenced. My partner in our legislation. The powerful will be held accountable. We will not rest until that happens. And no one, not even the president, is above the law. Trump cannot continue to bury the truth. The full Epstein files must be released now.
And said something that should be printed on every front page in the country. Trump says the American people need to move on. We're not moving on. That's outrageous to say move on. That's an insult to the victims and the survivors. He's right. And he's also late. Survivors have been saying this for 30 years. Maria Farmer said it in 1996. Virginia Roberts said it in 2015. Danny Bensky said it in 2019. And now in 2026, they're still saying it, still fighting, still demanding that someone, anyone with the power to act, actually do something. The call to research here is simple. Go to Pacer, pull the court filings from the Epstein civil cases, read the depositions, look at the flight logs, look at the calendar entries, look at the names that keep appearing and reappearing. Then ask yourself one question. If these were ordinary citizens, would they already be in handcuffs? And if the answer is yes, then ask the follow-up. Why aren't they? New Mexico isn't waiting. They created a truth commission. Bipartisan, subpoena power, investigators already working. They're going to find out what happened at Zorro Ranch. They're going to compel witnesses. They're going to hold perpetrators accountable if the evidence warrants. That's what accountability looks like. Not press conferences, not promises. Action. So here's where we are. The survivors are in the gallery. The president is at the podium. The cameras are rolling. And the question hanging in the air is the same one that's been hanging there for 30 years. Will anyone in power finally do the right thing? Will the Department of Justice investigate the powerful men whose names are sitting in those yellow folders? Will the FBI answer for why they ignored Maria Farmer in 1996? Will Congress pass Virginia's law and eliminate the statute of limitations that protects abusers and punishes victims? Or will we all just move on, like we always do? Like we did with Nassar, like we did with Sandusky, like we did with every other scandal where the powerful walked and the victims were told to be quiet. The survivors at that press conference gave their answer. We will not be silenced. We will not go away. And we will not move on. Now the question is for the rest of us. Will we stand with them, or will we look away again? If you want to understand how deep this cover-up goes, if you want to follow the investigations that are actually happening, if you want to know which powerful names are still protected and why, then you need to stay on top of this story as it breaks. Like, share, and subscribe to Celebrity Newswikipedia right now. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a breakdown of the biggest scandals unfolding in real time. Because this isn't going away. The survivors made sure of that. The only question is whether we'll be paying attention when the truth finally comes out.